Today we are going to see the supplementary part, OWLIE, prescribed for Standard 6. The author of OWLIE is Vijaya Ghosh. Vijaya Ghosh is a teacher, writer and animal lover. She was born in Andhra Pradesh. She was one of the editors of Target, the children's magazine. She is now the editor of Limca Book of Records. Her popular book is Grandpa Fights an Ostrich and Other Animal Stories. Payal is a school-going child. Payal's mother is a lover of animals. She took great care of all the birds and animals which were brought to her house. People brought injured cats, lost dogs, and baby birds that had fallen out of their cages to Payal's mother. They knew that Payal's mother had a big heart and she cared for animals. One day, Shifali Didi came to Payal's house carrying a carton. Carton means a container made out of plastic or cardboard. Shifali Didi brought a carton to Payal's house. When Payal's mother opened the carton, she saw a very small owlet sitting in one corner, and it looked like a small ball of brown and grey. In this picture, you see a dog sitting on the lap. In the similar way, Payal's mother picked the owl very gently and placed her in her lap and started talking to her just as she would do to the dogs. This was the first time she was handling owls, and so she was very careful not to get pecked. When the owl got used to her and seemed a bit relaxed, Payal's mother placed her inside a cage. In this picture, you find two cages. One is an empty cage, and in the other, you find a bird in it. In Payal's house also, there were empty cages so that Payal's mother could put a bird which had dropped in their house. Payal named the bird OWLIE. Now they were thinking how to feed an owl, as owls were hunters. In Payal's house, all were vegetarian, even the dog. Payal's mother, especially, was totally anti-meat. Owls eat rats, snakes, and frogs. Now that OWLIE had come to stay in Payal's house, Payal's mother had to get over her dislike for meat, and this was the first time that meat was brought to their house. Then they put the meat before OWLIE. OWLIE's mother smashed the meat until it was soft. Then she pressed open OWLIE's beak and put the food down. Immediately, OWLIE fell off her perch on the floor of the cage. She lay on her back on the floor of the cage with feet up in the air. In this picture, you see a bird lying with its feet in the air. In the same way, OWLIE lay on her back on the floor of the cage with her feet in the air. Seeing this, both Payal and her mother started crying. Then, when they were talking about her burial, OWLIE suddenly opened one eye and then the other. She then climbed the perch. Payal learnt that falling on her back and pretending to be dead was OWLIE's way of defending herself against danger. In this picture, you find a bird taking food from the hand. In the beginning, OWLIE had to be forced to eat, but later she realized that if a hand came towards her, it meant food. She would immediately open her mouth and her beak would snap around what was offered. Payal started taking care of OWLIE. She cleaned the cage every day. She filled the water bowl. She covered the cage during the day and took off the cover at night, as owls are night birds and they sleep throughout the day. OWLIE's cage was shifted to the library. It was a lovely room with two doors. One door led to the house and the other led to the garden. This was Payal's favorite room, and she spent hours there reading books. Payal's mother loved pretty things like pottery, dolls, wooden and clay birds and animals. All these things were kept in the library. Payal would meet Owlie every morning before going to school. She would shut the cage door every morning. Later, she stopped doing this. After coming back from school, she would immediately go to the library to have a look at Owlie. She noticed that the cage was empty and there was no sign of Owlie. Both Payal and her mother searched for the bird, but they could not find her. Payal felt very sad and started shedding tears thinking of Owlie. She noticed a curio on a shelf. When she was about to pick it up, the curio opened one eye. Payal understood that it was Owlie pretending to be a curio. Then she put the Owlie back into her cage. Payal's house was a home to all kinds of creatures, mainly abandoned animals. Shifali Didi brought a carton to Payal's house. Payal's mother opened the carton and found a small owlet in it. Payal named the owlet as Owlie. Payal's mother was a vegetarian. Still, she fed Owlie with meat. Owlie was moved to the library. When Payal returned from school, she noticed that the cage was empty. She and her mother searched for Owlie, but in vain. She cried bitterly. Payal noticed a curio on the shelf. She later realized that it was Owlie. She then put Owlie back in the cage. Complete the sentence. The owlet was brown and grey. In Payal's family, they were all vegetarian. The cage was shifted to the library. Identify the speaker or character. Owlie's gone. The answer is Pile. Don't panic. The answer is Pile's mother. Oh, what have I done? The answer is Pile's mother.